So I'd like to introduce Sarah Miller, who's a member of SI Cascadia Online, charter member, and she's also our region systems administrator, doing all the tech support for our entire region, which is a big task. So thank you so much for being here tonight, Sarah, to talk about cloud storage, and I'll turn it over to you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, it's interesting to have been the first, and now I dragged everybody into the online world with me. So it's my happy place. Uh yeah, so we're gonna talk about cloud storage. I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't need a PowerPoint. I want you to ask questions as we go. My preference is that you use the raise hand button, but you can also just wave wildly in your camera and I will probably see it unless I'm sharing screen. I'm going to put some links to resources in the chat as we go, and then those will all be saved for later. And I did notice that Carrie is still not connected to audio, so she cannot hear us probably. So hopefully she gets that solved soon or uses the dial in. Uh, you might just text her. Somebody might send her a chat message and tell her she can dial in if she can't hear. So my voice is a little bit growly tonight, so I'll apologize for that. I had a class and talked for 2 hours straight last night, and I'm like, gravel. So we're going to talk about this is partially records retention and partially cloud storage. Because we all, as nonprofit organizations, have an obligation to retain some records. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the region secretary sends information about that periodically, so that you are saving the right things. But one of the things that happens over time is your club gathers things or collects things. It's in people's garages, it's in their spare rooms, it is on their computers, it's in their cloud storage. And pretty soon you have stuff everywhere and you can't find things and you don't even necessarily know what might be out there. And so one of the things that in the modern era is a really good idea is to store your stuff in cloud storage, right? Round up all of those boxes of paper, figure out what you actually need to save, scan it, and stuff it in cloud storage somewhere. Um, and but you have to do cloud storage in a very specific way. A lot of people tend to use things like free Google accounts, right? Except that when you use a free Google account, whoever created that or whoever puts things in those files is the old owner of those folders. And if those accounts go inactive, after 2 years, those accounts go away. Google just did a big purge this week of inactive accounts. So any account that had not been active in 2 years, they deleted, and they deleted everything that went with it. And so using consumer-based free accounts is not a good idea for storing things long-term. There's no guarantee that those things are going to get saved. Part of the terms of service is it was free to you, and so they're free to basically do with it as they see fit and change those terms of service. And so there's a lot of ways that you can do cloud storage. In the region, we actually have a two-part cloud storage process, which hopefully will become a one-part process right now. But the region uses Amazon Web or Amazon Cloud Services to upload some things. It's free to upload. They charge a download. But we're slowly moving everything over to an Office 365 instance, which is free to us as a nonprofit. It's also free to each of your clubs as a nonprofit. You can sign up for that as a club. You might not want to run a full Office 365 instance, though. That might be more than you want to take on. And so there are other free commercial-based resources you have access to. I'm going to put this link in chat. But as a nonprofit group, sorry, there's more options in Zoom. So TechSoup, how many of you, just quick show of hands, how many of you utilize TechSoup for your club? Yeah, Region does, my club does, and I see there's 4 of my club members here, so counting me. Thanks for showing up, gang. So TechSoup is an organization that helps nonprofit groups with technology. And when you sign up for a free TechSoup account, they walk you through a process to be validated, and then you are eligible for the things that they offer. So that is how the region has Office 365 for free. Some clubs use it. SI Auburn is using it. SI Cascadia, my club, is using it. And that gives us storage and chat and email and all kinds of different things. If that's more than you want to deal with, though, through TechSoup, you can access discounted Dropbox accounts. And Dropbox is just for cloud file storage and sharing. You can also access Box accounts, and their Box accounts are free. I'm putting these in the chat. You can also access Amazon Web Services for free. And so you need a process within your club to identify all of your records, figure out who owns them, whether they're physical copies or virtual copies, and get them all into ownership that belongs to the club, so that gets handed off from year to year to the right people. Maybe it's your secretary, maybe it's your president. It should always be two people who have access, just for redundancy purposes, and that can shift over time. Just like your bank account, it should not have just one signatory on it. And so having that process, putting that down on paper, rounding up all your stuff, figuring out what you actually need to keep, what you don't need to keep, and what you are going to scan and digitize. Part of this too is asking your club members to go through their digital files and see what they have that belongs to the club. There's probably years worth of stuff, and it's probably in Google Drive, and it's probably in all kinds of other places that are not necessarily the greatest place to store stuff. I should have checked on this before I did this call today, but every club has an Outlook account courtesy of SIA. Every club has that, and I believe there is some storage with that as well. I will look, but I think there's some storage with that. And so looking at ways that your club can store things and access free resources. So you can get Office 365 for free. You can get Box for free. And then making sure that you're scanning, uploading, and agreeing in advance to some sort of system that makes sense, that is descriptive, that lets you file things. Maybe it's by year. Maybe it's by function and then by year. But agreeing to that in advance so that people are not just shoving stuff in a folder somewhere willy-nilly and then you can't find it anyway. We've had that issue a little bit with the region where we've tried to consolidate files, and it's many years worth of files with many different people's ideas of how to organize them. And so they're kind of just not organized. They're sort of organized, but they're not completely organized. One of the beautiful things with modern cloud storage, though, is it will search within documents for words. So you can do a search. For instance, if you're in Teams, you can go into the files area and do a search for a word, and it will search for that word in every document. So that even if you don't remember exactly how you filed something, you can still access it. You can still find it. So I thought I would really quick do a quick show, and just a little bit of show and tell on TechSoup for people who haven't seen it. Sorry, I gotta go. I had my eye appointment yesterday or last week, and now I have to go order my new glasses, so I'm not having to shove my face up to the screen. All right, so this is TechSoup, and TechSoup is free to join. And then they have various products available, which some are free, some have a management fee, some have a discount, but you can sort through them and see all of the various things that are available to you. So for instance, if your club wanted to get Box, which is a club file storage system, file sharing system, you can look under donor or company, and you can scroll down through the B's, and there's Box. And Box has a very specific thing, and it says you can get Box for nonprofits, and you can get 10 perpetual licenses, meaning that they are forever, or you can get a 50% discount on a monthly or annual subscription. So those 10 licenses are free. That means 10 club members can have accounts where they are storing things. You could do them by position, so that maybe your president has one and your treasurer has one, your secretary has one, but it's all owned by the club, so that you can store things in there for free. As you find stuff, you can scan it, you can upload it. The beautiful thing now is you don't have to have a scanner to scan things. Your phone makes a great scanner now. There's scanner apps that you can use, and you could, for instance, put the Box app on your phone with your club account, use your phone as a scanner, and shove documents into the file. It can be that simple now, because eventually somebody's going to want some record that you have, or you're going to need to find something, and you're going to spend a lot of time looking for it. Or worse yet, somebody stored stuff in their personal accounts, and they're no longer a club member, or they lose access to their account, and then you lose access to all of your stuff. So Box is one product that is available. This should still be showing. Yep. So it is a file storage and file sharing platform that has it's got other features, and I was going to show you. They use TechSoup to validate that you're eligible, but the free account that they have, so you can have 10 accounts for your club. They have 100 gigs of storage apiece. So together that comes out to 1 terabyte of storage, which is more than your club is likely to ever use. You can upload 2 gigabyte files, and it's got a document sign it. So if you've ever used e-signatures on stuff, they let you use 10 documents for e-signing per user per month. So your club could do up to 100 e-signed documents every month. Probably not a big deal yet, but as technology progresses, more and more things require a signature, and e-signatures are accepted. So that's a free thing that you can get from Box. Google, you can get an entire Google instance. So let's talk a little bit about Google. So when you go sign up for a Google account, that is a consumer free Google account. Google also has enterprise accounts, which are made for businesses, and our clubs are businesses. And so Google for Nonprofits provides that enterprise level business account for nonprofit organizations. So if you've ever used any of the Google platforms, it gives you workspace. They give you ad grants. So you can, if you want to advertise your club on Google, you can get ad grants from them. They've got their nonprofit program where you can store things for your club, generate revenue. They've got Google Earth and Maps that you can use to support things your club is doing. But they also have their storage area, Google Drive. So that is another place that you could store things owned by the club. And that's a really, really key thing to this is when you're storing things and people are uploading them, they retain the ownership rights unless they transfer them to whatever your club account is. And that's where we start to lose things. I was a member of a nonprofit board for 10 years. I still have access to a bunch of their files because they were using consumer grade Google Drive. And when I left, they didn't change the permissions correctly. I literally could go in and delete a bunch of their stuff, and because they're storing it in consumer grade Google Drive, and they didn't take me out correctly, and I still have their stuff. That's really bad, right? I wish them no ill will, so I'm not going to go delete their things, but sometimes people get mad or confused. They delete things thinking that it's deleting it from their own stuff when really it deleted something that belonged to the organization. And so you want to avoid doing that. So you've got lots of options. You've got the nonprofit from Google. You've got a ton of stuff available from TechSoup. they have hardware. If your club needs a physical computer for something, you can get those at greatly reduced prices from TechSoup. And every club needs to sign up for their own. One of the things we've been asked recently at the region level is whether we will host Teams instances for clubs. And though we could, from a technical perspective, we could, but we can't be responsible as a region for storing files that belong to your club. We can help you get through the TechSoup process to create your own file storage area, your own Teams instance. But if you start storing all of your files in the region folders, that doesn't help you meet your legal responsibilities for storing files, because we are separate nonprofit organizations. The region is separate from the clubs, and clubs need to store their own stuff. There are some cool things we can do if your club decides that they want to implement an Office 365 instance like the region has, and use Microsoft Teams for your club. There's some integrations we can do on the back end that make it seamless, so people would log into your club and have access to our region Teams instance, which we haven't done yet because nobody's doing it yet. But those things are possible now. They weren't 2 years ago when we started using Teams. Those things were not possible. So some of the other things that you might find useful if you're doing accounting, well, you're all doing accounting, but if you want to look for an electronic solution, you can get a greatly discounted subscription to Quicken online, or QuickBooks. I'm sorry, QuickBooks. Sorry. I can't remember. Suddenly, I cannot remember the name of the company that makes QuickBooks. Oh, Intuit. Right? Yep, there we go. Sorry, long day. Took me a second. So you can get QuickBooks, a 1-year subscription, cloud-based with 5 users for $75 a year. And then your QuickBooks it's just always in the cloud. If you wanted one on a computer, you can pay $39 for that and have one on a computer. But then if the computer catches fire or the dog eats it or whatever, now you don't have it anymore. So this is another for financial records. QuickBooks lets you store all of your financial records online. You can attach invoices, you can attach check copies, you can do all of your accounting right there, and store it all right there. And then when it's time for the new treasurer to come in, you create a new login for her, or you hand over the existing one, and you don't have to worry about losing actual physical files. So QuickBooks is another cloud storage that every club could use, right? Because we all have to keep financial records. I've been our club treasurer for, I don't know, 3 years, but maybe more. I don't know. It's been a while, but all of our records are in Quicken. Or QuickBooks. I always say Quicken. All of our records are in QuickBooks. And our president can log in and look at those records at any time. So there's accountability with that too, right? Like, I can't abscond with the money because the president can log in and look and see what's going on with it. The other thing that you've probably all seen used at some point now, another cloud storage system, is the Zephy system that we used for district meetings. You all also can use that for fundraising. You can use it for events. You could use it. You can use it for donor management. You can use it for raffles. You can use it for memberships, and it is a free platform for your club to use. So if you're doing an event with ticketing or any of these things, you can get a Zephy account for your club as an independent organization and start using the same system that we used at Region. The other thing, if you're thinking about doing that, let me know, because we will send you a link. And if your club decides to use it, Zephy will send the Region $150. And so we can use it as fundraiser too. That's not the intent, but it turned out to be a really great system for storing all of the things related to registrations and money, and the money just magically appeared in our bank accounts. Okay, it wasn't magic, it all got set up, but it made the accounting easy. It made oopsie refunds easy. There was some, like with any new thing, there were some hiccups and we learned some things, but we learned them first on District 4, the smallest district. And then we scaled up to the largest districts. And then now we're going to use it for the region conference. And I think we're going to be able to apply all of those lessons we learned, but that lets us store these things then forever. Who paid, what they paid for, it's all just in that system, segregated off by event. We could do fundraisers. We could do all kinds of things with it. They've added services just since we started using it earlier this year. And it's a great service. So what else did I want to say? One of the things I will just circle back to is the fact that a TechSoup account gives your club access to all kinds of free and discounted resources that could be really useful. So if your club is using Adobe to create things, there's discounted rates for that. There's even Airbnb, although I'm not sure what we would use it for. It is there. There's DocuSign. There's donor management software. There's lots and lots of things that are available to your club if your club signs up for its free TechSoup account. And they've got account managers who help you with things. So the other one I'll talk a little bit more about is the Microsoft Office 365 instance. It's a really useful tool. It is for email accounts. You're only supposed to give them to the leaders of your organization. If your club is small and everyone is on a committee, then everyone qualifies as a leader. But you can also have guest accounts, but it lets you do collaborative file sharing. It lets you create Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoints in the cloud where everyone can work on them simultaneously. It also lets you work on them on your desktop and save them into your Teams instance or into your SharePoint instance. It can really, if you've ever had a document that 15 people have been emailing back and forth trying to get updated and nobody can figure out what the most current version is, that's where you use cloud storage and you work on them collaboratively so that you're all working off the same document. I see there's something in chat. Oh, Zephy is not part of TechSoup. It's just free. TechSoup is a gateway to lots of things, but they are not. Zephy does not use them. Zephy has their own validation system that they use to figure out if you actually qualify as a nonprofit or not. I should have noted this. Zoom has nonprofit pricing through TechSoup if your club needs its own Zoom account. Because there's a lot of things that are available at the enterprise level, so made for businesses that just work way better when you're using that version than the free version. So if you've ever tried to run a meeting using the free version of Zoom, you know that it times out after, I think, 30 minutes now, and then it just hangs up the call and everybody has to call back in. Whereas you can use a pro account that's available to your club through Zephy. You can get so you pay the $18 admin fee and then you get a 50% discount on Zoom for your club if that's something that's useful to you. So I don't have a lot of content for this, but I wanted to just talk about and then leave it open for questions. Does anyone have questions? Oh, Governor Karen, go ahead, Governor Karen.
Hi, Sarah. I just wanted to clarify. I think you accidentally said Zephy instead of TechSoup when you were talking.
I could have. They are separate. Zephy does its own validation of things, and TechSoup does validations for a lot of other companies. So TechSoup has some things it offers it's on its own as well, like web hosting and stuff that they have that give access to. If you're using WordPress, they have a discount plan for that. So yeah, I might have said that backwards. Catherine.
So if we signed up for the Office 365, then could our members watch the meetings remotely through a Teams meeting? Can we do some of our meetings through Teams meetings?
Yes, my club does all of its meetings through Teams because we are an online club. So yes, absolutely. If you had a Teams account, if you had an Office 365 instance, everyone in your club could have an account and access your Teams meetings. You can set them to automatically record and do transcription and all of those things because it's all built in. Yeah, that's one of the really cool features of Teams meeting is you can turn on transcription. So if you have people who are hard of hearing, it real-time transcribes conversations, and it does a pretty good job of it. Zoom actually, some versions of Zoom do that as well, and you can turn on transcriptions, and it does a really good job. So people can be more engaged, right? Like sometimes you can't hear, and that lets you be able to participate better. So,
Or for the secretary, because it's already just typed up.
also that, that being able to record things and having that transcription, I mean, you don't want your notes to be an exact reflection of everything that was said in the meeting, exactly word for word, but it lets you capture like nuance that you might have missed. You're like, did she say this or did she say that? And it's right there in the transcript. And it's done by name, right? So if we were transcribing this one right now, it would say my name next to the things I said, and it would say your name next to the things you said. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
And it's free.
It is free. It is free.
Huh.
You sign up for TechSoup and then you go through their Microsoft donation program. And one of the things I think we're going to do, because 2 clubs are already using it, a couple of clubs have reached out and said they're interested. What we'll probably do is set up like a system administrator support group in the region Teams instance, so that as people have questions or need help, we can bounce ideas off of each other and help each other out with stuff. Because Microsoft actually provides great support for it too. But sometimes you just have a quick question and maybe there's a group of people you can just ask a quick question of. So, yeah. Gwen.
Yes, one of our members has suggested that we use Dropbox. She has an account and she suggested that we use that. What are the pros and cons?
You got to pay for it. So there's a con. Dropbox is a great system. Like I have a Dropbox account. I have a free Dropbox account. There's no there if you're looking for file storage. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right here. It is one of the things available from TechSoup for nonprofits, so you can get this discounted rate. So you pay the $45 administrative fee, and then you get a I think it's a 50% discount off their business rates. And so the thing to remember with all of these is that you really want to avoid using what would be called the consumer grade ones. You really want to have business level accounts, because they have different terms of service for businesses that provide more protections for your organization. They have better guarantees, basically.
Yeah,
Dropbox
this is
great
this is a professional business that she has, but what are the pros and cons of using a member's Dropbox?
So a member's Dropbox is owned by the member. That is the big downside. That person owns all of that. And you really need your club to own it. You really need your club to have the access rights, so that if you're like, I'm not saying this would ever happen, but if your member gets PO'd one day and just decides to quit and take all your stuff with her, she can do that if she is the owner of that account. So that is the big downside to it. Especially since there's free options to store your club stuff on things that the club already can access for free. So the big downside is that the club doesn't own it and doesn't control it.
So that admin fee is a one-time fee?
Yeah, the admin fee is a one-time fee for Dropbox, but then there's an annual fee for Dropbox. I was going to look and see. Dropbox is expensive compared to like Box. Box is a similar service. Box will provide their services to you for free. Dropbox is a 40% discount off of their annual subscription. And then I got to click another thing to see how much the annual subscription is. So the cheapest Dropbox account, now I got to get the calculator. Cheapest Dropbox account looks like it's about $130 a year.
Thank you for checking that.
Yeah. And you know, it may well be worth it, but Box does the same thing for free. And you can also get free storage for Amazon Web Services. But the thing being that it's the club's responsibility to store and keep their records, right? And if you're using a member's account, now you've given that responsibility to an individual who may or may not have fiduciary responsibility to your club. So they may not be an elected officer. Maybe they were, but now they're not. And so they have no obligation to keep the records of the club safe. And so by keeping them in something that the club owns, and ownership can be a free ownership, but it's still something that the club owns. That
Excellent point.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is the club needs to own it. Just to make sure it doesn't accidentally go away. I thought I saw another hand, but I thought it was waving at me. Ah, it was Monica. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
There. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I am confused about something that maybe I'm just not savvy enough, but you were talking about Microsoft 365 and how it has to be a club account. Right now we are just using Google Drive and free Google services, and we share that. But I have an Apple laptop that I use. We don't have an office, per se. So we all just use our own home laptops or phones or whatever.
Yep.
If I were to need to use the Microsoft 365, was that something I'd have to pay for separately on my device?
No. When your club has an account, they then can provide access to members for free.
For free, as many as you need, I assume. I mean,
yeah, there is an upper limit, but I have no idea what it is.
I'm sure we're not there.
Well, we have at the region, we have over 2,000 members in our region account.
Yeah.
So we haven't hit that.
And you can put it on your iPhone and on your Apple, because I use it on my Apple computer and on my iPhone. It just works pretty seamlessly with the Apple technology.
So does Governor Karen. I had to learn Apple just for Karen.
I'm Apple too, and I don't have any issues with it. So you can
Yeah, I haven't used it. So but yeah, okay. See if there's something else I want to ask. No, maybe not.
And taking stuff out of boxes and rounding up all of the years worth of paper that your clubs have, that is a major undertaking. Like that's something I'm doing at my house because I saved my income tax records back to the very first time I ever did them. And now I can't bear to part with them. I don't know why, but now I'm scanning them all in and putting them into electronic storage. I don't know.
Because it's fun to see how little you made way back then.
How much I thought I could live on, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a question. Let's see where my chat button went. Please talk about the downside of using Google Drive and how to move away from Google Drive. So I wouldn't say that there's a downside specifically to Google Drive. However, if you are using a personal account, that's where the issue comes in. So if you're using a personal account on Google Drive that doesn't belong to your club, and that isn't a professional level account, it has limitations and it has terms of service that are different than if you use like the free one that's available through Google Nonprofits. If you are using, if you're using Google Drive, there's a couple of things you can do. You could create professional level account for your club and have everybody move their files to that folder, to that account, or share it with that account and then give ownership permissions to that account. Or if you want to move entirely off of it, and I've done this before, I opened up Google Drive on one screen and I opened up the news service on the other one, and I just dragged all the files in there. It made it really, really easy. I did that for an entire nonprofit group. I opened Google Drive on one screen, I opened Microsoft Teams in the other screen, and I dragged every file in there. It got a little bit weird for files that were like Google Docs files. I had to go in through and convert all of those to Word files, but they worked. And so it depends on how you're organized now as to how you would best be able to manage a move like that. If the ownership of the files is your club account, if you have a club account, then it becomes a lot easier. If the ownership of those files is a whole bunch of different members and maybe some people who aren't members anymore, it gets a lot more complicated, because you have to have ownership of that account to move them. Did that help at all? Okay, I actually like Google Drive just fine. And especially if it's just for storage. A lot of people are super familiar with it. But it's that difference between a free consumer grade account and a professional level account. They're not going to delete your professional account, and all of the bunch of people, I mean, Google's been warning people for months now that they're going to delete inactive accounts, and they did it this week. And some people are realizing, oh, I had things tied to that and I didn't realize it. I had files that weren't maybe mine, and now they're just gone. Yep. Catherine.
I'm new, so I need a little clarification on like what is considered good to be on your personal computer versus in this group file. Because like we all do like the committee chairs and things, we're doing like minutes and agendas and flyers all on our personal computers. Like I use the Google Drive. Is that's that like just so minor that it's not important to save those things? And we're just talking about
you actually do need to save. There are things that you have a fiduciary responsibility to save. Meeting minutes are one of them. You must save those for a very long time because you're a nonprofit organization. They are technically public record for meeting minutes. Agendas, not so much, but meeting minutes absolutely have to be saved long term, and shouldn't be saved. Like, it's okay to save a copy on your computer, but you need to save a permanent record of it somewhere. So if your computer dies, your club does not lose records that it's legally obligated to keep. And the other piece of this too is, and it's, I hope, no, don't shoot the messenger, but for clubs that are keeping any kind of personal data. So if you collect your members' names and dates of birth for some reason, or if you have applications for Live Your Dream or other scholarships where you're collecting people's personally identifying information, you have a legal obligation to protect that as a club. So if you're letting members store that kind of information on their personal computers, your club can be held liable for that, legally liable for that, if that member gets their computer stolen and loses people's personal information. And I don't think SIA makes a big enough deal out of that. because it's very real. And people tend to just save things on their computer, right? Instead of in places where it might be safer for them to save it. And things happen to it. And so you, Governor Karen says, offered up a copy of the region's record retention policy. I think that should just go out with the minutes of this meeting. And your bylaws should absolutely say, your bylaws do say, what kind of minutes you're supposed to be keeping. They might not specify the records retention because that's bound to whatever laws are in place at the time, and they vary a little bit state by state. Yep, exactly. And that 990 form, the IRS form says you're keeping minutes. You gotta keep all that stuff, and you gotta keep it safe, and you gotta keep it for a long time. There's some things we don't need to keep, but there's some things we have to keep, and there's often things that we have to keep safe, and not on our own personal computers. That was probably more than you wanted to know, but
No, that's helpful because I have a spreadsheet of all of our Dream It Be It applicants with their addresses, phone numbers, emails on my Google Drive right now, which is not very safe. All those teenagers.
Yeah,
information.
exactly. Yep. And that's a real hazard, right? Like if it's in your Google Drive, it is more safe than if it's on your actual computer. It's way safer on a Google Drive because Google requires that you do multi-factor authentication. And if someone steals your computer, they're not stealing that information. They would have to steal Google in order to get that, or they would have to access your account somehow. But yeah, you need to be thinking about and look and see if your club's policies on data management, like your club probably doesn't have a policy on personal information, on records keeping, because these weren't things. When most of our clubs were formed, these were not things, and now they very much are. And so we have to consider how we're keeping our members' information safe, how we are keeping credit card records safe. If you take donations or have fundraisers and you have access to credit card information, how are you keeping that safe? Like we have legal obligations around those things. We have PCI compliant, like we're subject to a lot of laws, and it's easy sometimes to forget that our great clubs are also businesses, and our businesses are bound to follow certain laws that keep people safe. So, yeah. Can be a shocking thing, but you want to be shocked by it now, and not when something happens and now you're responsible for a data breach and you have to send out letters and there's legal fees and all of those things, right? So, any other questions? All right. I don't see any other questions, Karen. Maybe when you send out the link to this video or wherever it goes, we can also send out a link to the records retention policy, and just give people a good idea of where they should be with this kind of stuff. And as always, if you want to go down the cloud storage route and you want to figure out how you should save things and how you get set up, absolutely, you can send an email to the support email box. I will answer it. I'm going to put this in in here. Here we go. And I will not do it for you, but I can get you going in the right direction, and I can get you into this, get you where you need to be. Because the great thing about TechSoup and Google and Microsoft, they have great tech support. And that is, I will say, that is the big advantage you get over using professional accounts versus free consumer accounts. You get the support that goes with it, right? A lot of people have a Hotmail account or an Outlook.com account. Those are all owned by Microsoft. Yep. but you do not get the tech support that you get when you have an Office 365 instance that you're running for your organization. That's the big difference. The ability to get help when you really need it. All right, with that, I will hand it back to you, Karen.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. Hey, give Sarah a round of applause. If you are dying to look at our records retention policy right now, you can actually find it at the very end of our Northwestern Region bylaw standing rules and procedures, but otherwise it will be a separate document that you can take a look at, that we will send to you all. And thank you all so much for being here tonight. And thank you again, Sarah, for your time and information. And like I said, feel free to reach out to Sarah at the support@seroptimusnwr.org if you've got more specific questions or need some help with all this. So
Thank you.
thanks again.
That was very good.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.